You keep telling yourself you're a good man, reliable, helpful, reasonable, and you keep getting outplayed by men who are none of those things. You watch them take the promotion you deserved, the respect you earned, the attention you were promised. You don't lose because you're weak. You lose because you were trained to be harmless. You know the feeling. At work, you stay late. You fix problems nobody else touches. You speak politely in meetings, and then you notice the loud guy who barely does the work getting credit like he owns the place. You tell yourself, it'll balance out. It doesn't. In relationships, you communicate, you compromise, you try to be fair, and then you find yourself apologizing for things you didn't do. Chasing affection like it's a reward you have to earn. With family or friends, you keep the peace. You laugh things off. You swallow the disrespect. And later, you wonder why you feel tired around people who are supposed to be your people. Here's what's really happening. You were conditioned to be helpful, obedient, and friendly, not powerful. You were taught to be a helper, not a strategist. You were taught that if you do the right thing, people will do the right thing back. That belief is the leash around your neck. You learned to read the room like a hostage negotiator. You watch faces. You soften your tone. You overthink your messages. You worry about sounding too intense. You hope that being agreeable will keep you safe. That's why, when someone pushes you, you freeze for a second. You search for the polite response. You try to stay above it. And the other guy learns something dangerous. You don't hit back. Look at how it plays out. In a group chat, someone throws a sly insult. You laugh with them, so you don't look sensitive. Later, you replay it alone. In the office hallway, a rival gives you a compliment that feels like a warning. You smile because confrontation feels risky. In bed, you feel your partner pulling away, and instead of holding your ground, you overperform, hoping effort will buy certainty. This is the same pattern in 3 costumes. You trade power for approval. Then you wonder why you feel drained and unseen. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago, not as a fantasy villain, but as a cold observer of how humans actually behave when status, fear, and reward are on the table. He watched men swear loyalty and break it. He watched alliances form and dissolve overnight. He understood that most people don't move by virtue. They move by incentives, threats, and appearances. And if you don't understand that, you will keep getting outsmarted by people who do. Tonight, you're going to learn 10 dark insights Machiavelli used to outmaneuver strong opponents. Not 10 cute tips. 10 mental shifts that change how you read rooms, how you handle pressure, and how you stop being the predictable piece on someone else's board. These insights are about strategic intelligence, the kind that doesn't need loudness, the type that survives in a world where people smile while they measure you. Some of you will hate this. You'll call it cynical. You'll say it's not you. Good. Many will leave. Only serious viewers stay. If you're still here, it means you're tired of paying for naivete. Put your phone face down and listen, because the moment you see the game, you stop being the one who gets played. And if this hit you, write "I am the strategist" once in the comments to mark the day your mindset changed. Now, let's get surgical. You've been taught to speak your truth and trust your heart. In power dynamics, that's how you expose yourself. Machiavelli would tell you that the first move is not to speak, but to see. Most men walk into a room and immediately try to be liked. They smile too much. They explain too much. They volunteer too much. They're broadcasting needs, and need makes you controllable. Picture a meeting where there's tension. Your manager is vague. Two coworkers are unusually quiet. You feel the pressure, so you fill the silence. You offer ideas. You take on tasks. You try to stabilize the mood. You think you're being a team player. What you're really doing is giving everyone information about you. You're showing what you fear, what you want, and what you'll do to reduce discomfort. A sharper player watches you do that and thinks, "Good, I can steer him." Machiavelli's first insight is that information is a weapon and your emotions leak it. You don't have to become a robot. You have to stop turning your nervous system into a loudspeaker. The man who asks fewer questions about himself and more questions about the situation becomes harder to manipulate. When you hold your tongue, other people fill the space and they reveal their agenda. So you start practicing controlled silence, not awkward silence, strategic silence. You ask a clean question, then you wait. You don't rescue people from their discomfort. You watch what they do with it. The person who rushes to reassure you is often trying to buy your trust fast. The person who dodges specifics is hiding risk. The person who gets irritated by your calm is used to controlling the frame. This is how you outsmart strong opponents. You don't try to overpower them. You make them show their shape. Strong opponents rely on momentum and intimidation. Silence steals their momentum. It forces them to overplay. It forces them to reveal what they assumed they could keep hidden. Now connect that to relationships. If you're constantly explaining yourself, you're always on the defensive. You say, "I didn't mean it like that. Here's what happened. Let me prove I care." That sounds noble. It also makes you predictable. Machiavelli would say, people judge by what they see, not what you meant. So stop trying to control how you're understood through endless explanation. Control it through consistent boundaries. That leads to the second insight. Most men try to win by being good. Machiavelli would tell you to win by being necessary. There's a difference. When you're just good, people enjoy you. When you're required, people respect you. Think of the coworker everyone likes. He's friendly, he's helpful, and he's always available. And he's also the first person thrown under the bus when things go wrong. Because he has no leverage. He has no scarcity. He has no consequence. The strong opponent in the office doesn't fear him. He uses him. Necessity is built through controlled value. You deliver results, but you don't over-deliver. You solve problems, but you don't become the free repair shop. You make your contribution visible, but you don't beg for praise. You attach your value to outcomes that matter, not to emotional labor that drains you. Machiavelli watched rulers who gave too much. They thought generosity bought loyalty. It bought appetite. People don't love what they get for free. They consume it. And once they consume it, they feel entitled to more. So you stop trying to be loved through endless giving. You become respected through selective giving. This is not cruelty. It's economics. In the attention economy, anything always available becomes invisible. Your time, your energy, your access, your help. If it's unlimited, it's treated like background noise. The moment you make it conditional, it becomes valuable. So here's your application. The next time someone asks for a favor, you don't jump. You ask, what's the priority? What's the deadline? What have you tried already? You force them to invest effort before you invest yours. And if they push back, you learn something. They weren't asking for help. They were asking for control. Now the third insight gets darker. Machiavelli understood that people don't just respond to who you are. They react to who they believe you can become. In other words, they treat you based on your potential for consequence. A lot of men are safe. They are emotionally secure, physically safe, and socially safe. They never escalate. They never punish. They never leave. They never make anyone uncomfortable. And because of that, they are taken for granted. They become the men people can disrespect without cost. Machiavelli's lens says you must be able to be hard, even if you prefer to be fair. He argued that being loved is nice, but being feared is more reliable when the world turns unstable. For your life, translate that into this: being liked is fragile. Being respected is durable. This doesn't mean you go around threatening people. It means you build a reputation for standards. You train people that access to you, cooperation with you, and peace with you come with conditions. If someone crosses a line, you respond calmly, directly, without drama. You don't scream. You don't lecture. You remove benefits. Look at a relationship where you're being tested. A partner cancels at the last minute. A friend makes jokes at your expense in front of others. A family member guilt trips you to get their way. Your old pattern is to explain, forgive, and keep showing up. That signals unlimited tolerance. Machiavelli would call that inviting disorder. When you tolerate small disrespect, you teach people that the price of disrespect is zero. Then they raise the level. So you respond early. You say, "That doesn't work for me." You don't debate it. You don't over-explain it. You change your behavior. You stop being available. You stop rewarding them with attention. You keep your tone calm, because calm is power. Overreaction is weakness. Calm consequence is authority. Here's the fourth insight. Strong opponents don't always attack you head-on. They bait you into exposing yourself. They use your pride, your anger, your need to be right. Machiavelli saw pride as a handle people grab to move you. You've experienced this. Someone makes a subtle comment that questions your competence, or they imply you're insecure, or they compare you to someone else. And suddenly, you feel heat in your chest. You start arguing. You start explaining. You start proving. They sit back, smiling. They don't even care about the topic. They care about steering your state. The strategic response is to treat provocations like tests, not insults. Machiavelli would have you ask, what does this person gain if I react? If the answer is status, control, or distraction, you don't give it to them. So you learn to delay your response. You inhale. You watch. You say, interesting, and you move on. Or you ask a neutral question that exposes their intent. What makes you say that? Most people crumble when they have to own their aggression out loud. If they double down, you now have data. If they backtrack, you've kept your power. This is where many men fail, because they confuse calm with weakness. In reality, calm is the ability to choose your move. Reactive men are predictable men. Predictable men are exploitable men. Machiavelli's whole method is to become hard to predict. Now for the fifth insight. You think people fight over facts. They fight over narratives. Machiavelli knew that control of the story is control of the outcome. People don't need to know the whole truth. They need a version that feels coherent, emotionally satisfying, and socially safe to repeat. At work, politics is not primarily about who is right. It's about who is credited, who is blamed, and who is trusted. In a group, decisions are often made before the meeting begins, then discussed in the room to make it look fair. If you walk in thinking the meeting is where decisions are made, you're late. So you stop being the man who argues on the record without building support off the record. You learn to speak to people one-on-one before speaking in the he room. You ask what they care about. what they fear, and what they need to look good. You align your proposal with their incentives. That's not manipulation for chaos. That's understanding human nature. Machiavelli would say, appearances matter because humans judge with their eyes. So you stop thinking that your work speaks for itself. Your job is mute until it's framed. You make sure the right people understand what you did, why it mattered, and how it connects to the team's goals. You don't brag. You position. You deliver short, clean updates that make your value hard to ignore. Here's a simple move. When you complete a project, you don't just finish it and disappear. You send a short message. Here's what was done. Here's the outcome. Here's the next risk. Here's what I recommend. That makes you look like a strategist, not a laborer. It also makes it harder for others to steal credit because the narrative is already attached to your name. Now, the sixth insight is about alliances. Weak men make friends. Strategic men build coalitions. Machiavelli understood that power isn't a solo sport. Even the most vigorous opponent can be neutralized when you shape the network around him. Most men pick allies based on comfort. They bond with people who laugh at their jokes, who validate them, who feel familiar. That's emotional, not strategic. In real games, you need allies based on alignment. Who benefits if you win? Who loses if you lose? Who can block you? Who can protect you? Who controls information? At work, you might have a rival who seems unstoppable. He's loud, close to leadership, always in the spotlight. You feel small next to him. Your instinct is to confront him directly or to avoid him. Both are losing moves. Machiavelli would have you build around him. Find the people he ignores. The quiet operators. The ones who handle logistics. The ones who have access to schedules, budgets, and approvals. The ones everyone relies on, but nobody praises. Respect them. Include them. Make them feel seen. When you have them, you have influence. Not flashy influence, real influence. In social life, it's the same. A dominant friend tries to control the group. He teases, he interrupts, he decides where everyone goes. If you challenge him in public, he will escalate, and the group will side with whoever feels safest. Instead, you build relationships individually. You become the man others trust. So when he overreaches, the group naturally shifts away from him, and you didn't have to fight. This is one of Machiavelli's sharpest insights. You don't always defeat opponents by force. You defeat them by isolating them. Strong opponents become weak when their support disappears. Now, the seventh insight is the one most men resist. You want to be seen as consistent. Machiavelli would tell you, consistency is for machines, not for wars. Humans adapt. Situations change. If you cling to one identity, you become easy to trap. You say, I'm always honest. I always help. Never play games. Those sound like virtues. They're also contracts your enemies can exploit. If someone knows you will always forgive, they can keep crossing lines. If someone knows you will always tell the truth, they can extract information from you. If someone knows you will always try to be fair, they can manipulate you with guilt. Machiavelli's approach is not to be fake, it's to be flexible. Your values stay internal. Your tactics change with context. You can be kind and still be strategic. You can be truthful and still be selective. You can be fair and still be firm. In practice, this means you stop overcommitting. You stop making promises in emotional moments. You stop saying yes to avoid conflict. You buy time. You say, let me think. That simple sentence is a weapon. It protects you from pressure. It forces the other person to wait. It gives you space to see the situation clearly. Now, this is cold. Here's the reality. Life is already cold when you're being used. Machiavelli isn't teaching you to become a predator. He's teaching you to stop being prey. Let's bring in one brief cameo here. Nietzsche warned that resentment turns you into a reactive creature, chained to what you hate. If you spend all your energy being offended, you become easy to steer. That's why your focus must be forward, not emotional. Then you return to Machiavelli. Your strategy is not rage. Your strategy is positioning. Now, let me weave the 10 insights clearly through these laws, without turning this into a list. You've already heard several. Silence to gather information. Necessity over niceness. Consequence over approval. Control of your emotional reactions. Control of the narrative. Coalition over comfort. Flexibility over rigid identity. There are still more, and they are the ones that make you dangerous in a calm way. One is this: timing beats talent. You can be smarter and still lose if you move at the wrong moment. Machiavelli watched wars and politics, and he understood that even the right action can fail when the timing is bad. In your world, timing is when you speak, when you push, when you step back, when you strike. You've seen men sabotage themselves by pushing too early. They ask for a raise right after a mistake. They challenge a leader when the leader feels threatened. They demand commitment in a relationship while the other person is pulling away. They call out disrespect in a group setting when the group is not ready to back them. They lose, not because they're wrong, but because they moved without reading the season. So you learn to wait for leverage. You let patterns accumulate before you confront. You build allies before you challenge. You gather evidence before you accuse. You let the other side overextend before you counter. The impatient man shows his hand. The strategic man makes the other person show theirs. Another insight is this: you must control what people can expect from you. If you are always available, always responsive, always agreeable, your predictability becomes their comfort. And once they're comfortable, they feel entitled to you. Machiavelli would say, a ruler must not allow contempt to grow. Contempt grows when people believe they can access you without earning it. So you stop responding instantly. Not to play childish games, but to reclaim your attention. You answer when you choose. You stop letting other people's urgency become your emergency. You train the world to approach you with respect, because you act like your time matters. Another insight is about strategic generosity. You can give, but you give with purpose. You give in ways that create loyalty, not dependence. There's a difference. If you do everything for someone, they don't respect you. They respect the convenience you provide. But if you allow someone to win with you, they bond with you. They feel invested. At work, that means you involve others in success, so they have a reason to protect the story. In relationships, it means you don't rescue someone from their own consequences. You support them, but you don't carry them. In a family, it means you help without becoming the ATM. You give with terms. And another insight is the discipline of appearing calm even when you're not. Machiavelli understood that people read your face like a scoreboard. If you look shaken, they press harder. If you look angry, they steer you. If you look desperate, they exploit you. So you practice the mask, not as a lie, but as a form of emotional containment. This is masculine control. You can feel everything, but you don't spill everything. You don't let your internal weather dictate your external moves. When you keep your composure, other people assume you have options. Options are power. Now, let's ground this in a real scenario with a strong opponent. Imagine a colleague who constantly undermines you. He interrupts you in meetings, he questions your ideas, and he jokes when you speak. If you react emotionally, you become the story. He's sensitive. He can't take feedback. If you stay silent forever, you become the victim. The Machiavellian move is to change the environment around the behavior. You start by documenting patterns privately. You build small alliances with people who notice the same thing. You frame it as a concern about outcomes, not ego. When I'm cut off, we miss details. You share that calmly with a leader who cares about the project. You choose the timing when the leader is not stressed. Then, in the meeting, you use controlled interruption. You say, "Let me finish this point," and you keep going. Calmly. No smile, no apology. You make it boring to challenge you. Over time, his tactics stop working because the room learns you won't collapse or explode. You're stable. And stability is intimidating. In relationships, picture a partner who tests you with withdrawal. She pulls back to see if you chase. If you chase, you teach her that withdrawal controls you. The strategic move is to stay steady. You don't punish. You don't beg. You hold your standards. I'm here when we're respectful. I'm not here for games. Then you go live your life. Your calm becomes the pressure. If she respects you, she returns with clarity. If she doesn't, you have your answer. That's a consequence. With family, picture a sibling who always jokes about your career, your body, your choices. You laugh it off. Inside, it eats you. Then you explode later, and you look unstable. The strategic move is an early boundary. You say, "Don't talk about me like that." If they laugh, you repeat once, then you exit. You don't argue. You don't plead. You remove access. Over time, the room learns you are not the clown. Now, there's a deeper layer under all of this. Machiavelli isn't just giving tactics. He's teaching you to see people as they are, not as you wish they were. Many men get trapped because they project their own morals onto others. They think, "I wouldn't do that, so he won't." That is how you walk into traps. So, you train yourself to read incentives. When someone is being nice to you, you don't just feel grateful. You ask, what do they want? When someone praises you, you don't just get high. You ask, what are they setting up? When someone is angry, you don't just defend. You ask, what are they afraid of losing? This makes you harder to bait. Strong opponents rely on your emotional autopilot. They depend on you to chase validation, avoid conflict, and assume fairness. When you interrupt that autopilot with analysis, you become a different kind of man. And there's one more insight that ties it all together. You must decide what you are willing to lose. Most men fail because they fear losing comfort, approval, and identity. They will tolerate disrespect to avoid loneliness. They will accept unfair deals to prevent tension. They will stay silent to avoid being seen as difficult. That fear becomes your opponent's leverage. Machiavelli would tell you that every real power move costs something. You either pay up front with temporary discomfort, or you pay later with permanent weakness. If you want strategic intelligence, you must be willing to lose a few relationships, a few opportunities, a few illusions. Not because you love loss, but because you love freedom. Now let's integrate this into your daily life, because without integration, this is just entertainment. If you do not apply this, you stay the same man in a nicer outfit. You keep being the one who carries the weight without recognition. You keep being the one who explains himself, while others define him. You keep being the one who gives more than you receive and calls it love. You keep thinking you're patient when you're actually afraid. You keep confusing peace with submission, and over time, something worse happens. You become bitter. You become resentful. You become reactive. You start hating the world because you keep losing in it. You start telling yourself, people are trash, while still letting them run you. You start withdrawing. You start numbing. You start fantasizing about revenge instead of building real leverage. That is a slow death, not dramatic, quiet, the death of respect for yourself. But if you apply this, something changes quickly. You stop needing to win every moment. You start playing for position. You stop rushing to be understood. You let actions speak. You stop trying to be chosen. You choose. You stop being pulled into other people's storms. You stay centered. And when you do speak, people listen more because you don't waste words. You start becoming selective with your time. That alone will shock your world. People who are used to instant access will test you. They will guilt trip you. They will call you cold. That is the detox. That is the withdrawal of someone losing control over you. You don't respond with cruelty. You respond with clarity. You don't need to be evil to be effective. Machiavelli is often misunderstood as teaching wickedness. What he really teaches is realism. He teaches that good intentions without strategy lead to self-destruction. So you hold two ideas at once. You can care about people and see their incentives. You can be kind and firm. You can give, and you can require respect. You can love, and you can walk away. This is a masculine frame, not aggression, not dominance for ego. Frame is your internal rule set, and your refusal to trade it for comfort. When you have a frame, you don't argue about your boundaries. You live them. You don't announce your standards. You enforce them. And here's the point that cleans the darkness. This is not about playing games. Games are what weak men play because they have no standards. This is about understanding reality, so you stop being manipulated by it. It's about protecting your attention, energy, reputation, and future. Machiavelli would tell you that fortune favors the prepared mind. You cannot control everything. You cannot control other people's morals. You cannot control the chaos of life. But you can control your positioning inside it. You can control what you reveal. You can control what you tolerate. You can control the story attached to your name. You can control your alliances. You can control your timing. You can control your reactions. So here is a clean challenge for you, starting today. In the next 7 days, pick one arena where you feel used: work, relationship, family, or social circle. Choose one small boundary you've been avoiding because you fear discomfort. Then enforce it with calm consequence. No lecture, no over-explanation, just action. Watch what happens. The people who respect you will adjust. The people who need control will escalate. Either way, you win because you get the truth. Then pick one situation where you usually rush to speak: a meeting, a text argument, a family debate. Practice strategic silence. Ask one question, then wait. Let the other person reveal themselves. Your job is not to be liked in that moment. Your job is to see. And finally, pick one area where your value is invisible. Make it visible in a calm way. Frame your contribution. Control the narrative, not with boasting, but with clarity. If you want more content like this, you know what to do. Like the video if it sharpened you. Subscribe if you're building a mind that can't be controlled. Please share it with a friend who keeps using it and doesn't know why. And if this hit you, write, "I am the strategist," once in the comments, to mark the day your mindset changed. Stay calm, stay dangerous in your discipline. And remember what Machiavelli understood. The world doesn't reward the man who means well. It rewards the man who sees clearly and moves with intention.